Hi everyone. So after the preparation is over. Haloalkanes, haloarenes. We will move on to the physical property. Now what are the physical properties of haloalkanes and haloarenes? Okay. Now as far as haloalkanes are considered, they are very pure, that is colorless in nature. Haloalkanes and haloarenes, but when exposed to sunlight, the bromides and iodides will have some color. They will gain some color. Okay. So otherwise they are colorless when pure. Okay. Now we will move on to a very important property, physical property, that is melting and boiling point. Okay. I have just written the value points, that's all. Okay, we will explain it one by one. So coming to the melting and boiling point, the first is, lower haloalkanes are mostly gases. Now, what are lower haloalkanes? Lower haloalkanes means, for example, CH3Cl, chloromethane or methyl chloride, or I can say CH3Br or CH3I, etc. That is lower, having lower molecular weight. Okay, CH3. Little bit higher means C2H5, that is ethyl, propyl. So it goes on increasing the molecular weight. So as far as alkanes are considered, haloalkanes are considered, lower haloalkanes are mostly gases, but when you go to higher haloalkanes, they are solids and liquids. Okay, so that's just an information. Then coming to the melting and boiling point, we know what is the, we discussed the nature of haloalkanes, or the carbon halogen bond, isn't it? What was it? You discussed the nature of the carbon halogen bond, that is C and X, isn't it? So, due to the high electron negativity of halogen when compared to carbon, it will gain a small negative charge, delta negative, and the carbon delta positive, isn't it? So, this we can say it is a polar bond. Correct? Okay. So, that's why the first point is the haloalkanes are more or less polar. Isn't it? Very polar in nature, because there is a difference in electronegativity. Now, since there is a difference in electronegativity, what happens? The bond between these two, the intermolecular force of attraction is strong in haloalkanes when compared to the hydrocarbons of same molecular mass. What do you mean by that? See, as we say, intermolecular force of attraction means what? For example, if you say if I say one methyl chloride and another methyl chloride, so the intermolecular force, okay, between two molecules, the attraction between the two molecules are very, very strong. Why? Why? Because it consists of two types of forces, that is van der Waals force as well as the dipole force. This is dipole, no? It has got a change in polarity. So, there are two forces existing in this intermolecular force of attraction. One is the weak van der Waals force of attraction, and second is the dipole. Both are having this dipole, right? So, this is my delta minus delta plus. Again delta minus delta plus. So, that dipole attraction also, and the generally van der Waals force of attraction is also there. So two types of forces are causing the strong intermolecular force of attraction between the haloalkanes. So that's a value point. That is strong intermolecular force of attraction between the haloalkanes. So in order to break that strong intermolecular force of attraction, high energy is needed. That is why it is having high boiling point and melting point. So what is the value point? It is having a high MP as well as high dP. Why? The point is, even though it is polar in nature, due to the polarity, it is having a strong intermolecular force of attraction. Now, where this intermolecular force of attraction comes? Due to the van der Waals force as well as the dipole force. Correct? Then comes, so it has got having a high boiling point and melting point when compared to hydrocarbon of comparable mass. What do you mean comparable mass? For example, if you talk about hydrocarbon is what? CH4. Isn't it? CH4. Now, the haloalkane you can write as CH3Cl. So, comparable molecular masses, when you compare the molecular masses, what happens? The melting point and boiling point is high. Isn't it? So, when you compare the molecular masses, then it has the haloalkanes has got what? High melting and boiling point. Okay, so that is it. Now, that is the first point. first is polar, second is strong intermolecular force of attraction. Now the third point is, as the size increases means halogen atoms, no, haloalkanes. If you have, for example, if you compare with the same molecular masses, for example, if you have CH3Cl, CH3Br, CH3I, etc. So same hydrocarbon, isn't it? Only the difference is in the halogen. So as the size of the halogen atom increases, see, iodine has got more size than bromine, than chlorine. So as the size of the halogen atom increases, the attraction between the intermolecular force of attraction also increases, because the electrons also gets increased in the valence shell, isn't it? I mean, the electrons are also increased in iodine as well as in bromine, as well as in bromine and in chlorine. Okay. So as the size increases, the intermolecular force of attraction increases. So the reactivity is in the order of what? Ri, that is iodine is having more, then bromine, then chlorine and then fluorine. Okay. That is why the size increases. The mass will also increase, isn't it? That means iodine has more size, so CH3I will have more mass than CH3Br. So as the size increases, definitely the mass will increase, therefore the van der Waals force of attraction also increases. Okay, that is why the reactivity is in the order of Ri greater than Rbr, greater than Rcl, greater than Rf, where R is same. When you assume that the R is same, the order of reactivity is like this. Okay, that is van der Waals force of attraction increases. Okay, so that's the 4 main points in this physical, melting and boiling point. Okay, one is polarity, second is due to polarity, strong intermolecular force of attraction. There again van der Waals and dipole. Then size increases, the attraction also increases, isn't it? The van der Waals force of attraction increases because the electrons are also increasing. Then for the same hydrocarbon, then as the size, van der Waals force increases, so the reactivity is in the order of Ri greater than Rbr, greater than Rcl, greater than Rf. So melting and boiling point decreases in the order, isn't it? The reactivity means what I mentioned, the reactivity is melting and boiling point. The melting and boiling point decreases in the order. So Ri has got greater reactivity. So in the question, they won't ask Ri and all. They will give you some other compound like CH3I or CH3Br, which is having high MP and BP compared. So when you compare, CH3I has got a greater MP or BP than CH3Br, because the greater size, the van der Waals force also increases. That's the value point. Greater the size, greater the mass, greater is the intermolecular force of attraction. So greater is the MP and BP. Hope you understood. Okay. Now, so this is the general thing. Now if I give you a compound, for example, if I give you a compound like, I have a compound like CH3, CH2, 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 Br. What is this? This is normal bromo 1, 2, 3, 4 butane. Isn't it? This is bromo butane. Okay. Now if I have another compound having an isomer, same molecular formula but different structure. So if I have a compound like CH3, then CH2Br. See? Sorry, if it is CH2, this is Br, okay, this is Br, then CH2, CH3, okay. So this is what? This is isopropyl, isopropyl, CH3, CH3, CH. It is not isopropyl. 1, 2, 3, 4. That is 2 bromo butane, isn't it? 2 bromo butane. So this is a branched one. Okay, this is an isomeric halide of normal butane. This is isobutane, isn't it? Or you can say 2 bromo butane. This is normal butane. Okay. Now again we can have one more isomer for this. That is 1, 2, 3, 4. You can have 1, 2, 3 and Br. So CH3, CH3 and CH3. Okay, am I right? 3, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 3 plus 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. 3, 3, 3, 9. So this is C4H9Br. That is bromo bromobutane. These are the 3 isomeric bromobutane or haloalkanes. Now when you say or when you compare this melting point and boiling point of these 3 compounds, that is normal, iso and neo. So when these are compared, you know, the most branched compound will have the least melting point and boiling point. See? So as branches increases, the MP or the BP decreases. So that you have to keep in mind. So when you will be given 3 compounds like this, and they will tell you to arrange it in the increasing order or decreasing order of the MP. So what you have to do? You have to first see for the branches. As the branches increases, because as the branches increases, surface area decreases. As the branches increases, the branches decreases, surface area increases. So as the branches increases, the melting point or the boiling point decreases. So they will ask like that. They will give you 3 compounds and then ask you to arrange them in decreasing order or increasing order of the melting or boiling point. So what here increasing order means? Keep on increasing. Which is increasing? This is the most increased one. So first this, then this and then this. Decreasing means first this and then this. So depending upon the question you have to give the answer. Okay, so isomeric halides will have lower melting point or boiling point than the normal halides. That's the point, very point. Okay, so keep in mind that. But when you take haloarenes, this is the case of haloalkanes. Okay, when haloalkanes are considered, isomeric will have what? Isomeric will have lower melting and boiling point than the normal one. Okay, now, but when you consider arenes, now isomeric arene means what? Isomeric arene means, for example, if I have this orthochlorochlorobenzene or 1,2-dichlorobenzene, that is ortho. The isomeric means same molecular formula. This is meta and this is para. See, if I have same molecular formula but different structure, in the case of haloarenes, here there is not much difference like in haloalkanes. Okay, there is no much difference in haloalkanes. So haloarenes will have somewhat the comparable melting and boiling point when this isomeric haloarenes are considered. But out of the 3, the para will have little slighter melting or boiling point due to its symmetry. Okay, so due to its symmetrical structure on the crystal lattice, it has get a great symmetry. Always when para is considered, think about the value point 1 must be symmetry. So due to the symmetric nature in the lattice, this has got a slightly higher boiling point or melting point than the ortho or meta. So that's it. Otherwise, no a drastic change in change in this boiling and melting point is not seen there, but only a slight variations, and that too para has got a slight variation than the other two because of its symmetry. Okay, so this is where melting and boiling point is considered. Okay, hope you understood. So see, all you have to write the value points in the left side of that textbook. So whenever you go through that page, suddenly you know what are the value points and then you will have a recollection of that. Okay, so do that please. So that is all about the melting and the boiling point. Now comes the second physical property is the density. You know, as the size increases, the mass increases, thereby the density also increases. So iodide will be having more denser than what? Chloride or bromide or fluoride, isn't it? So the density as the mass of the atom increases, as the number of carbon atom increases and the size of the halogen atom increases, of the 3 variations you can say what? The density also increases, because all these halides, fluorides, chlorides, bromides, etc. are more denser than water. So you can say density increases. Okay, just one word, density increases. Okay, then comes the third one, very very important, that is solubility. What is it? Solubility. Okay, it is very important. Board exam question can be asked. So what about the solubility? We know organic compounds, isn't it? Organic compounds are mainly soluble in organic solvents, isn't it? And it is less soluble in polar solvents, because like dissolves like that. So so organic compounds are more soluble in organic solvents like CCl4, CS2, carbon disulfide, benzene, etc. So how the solubility can be predicted for haloalkanes and haloarenes. But even though they are polar, we said it is just a polarity is there. Slight plus will be on the carbon and minus will be on the halogen atom. But still being polar, this organic compound, this haloalkanes and haloarenes are less soluble in water. Okay, so that is the question. So solubility means less soluble in water. Now, what is the reason behind it? Okay, they will ask you why this haloalkanes and haloalkanes are less soluble in water. Now, the value point is, see, when will we say that something is soluble in water? For that matter, whatever be the compound, when will we say that some substance is soluble in water? That is, actually, for example, if you take this example, that is hydrocarbon or haloalkane, you have a haloalkane and you have water. When you mix it with water, if it dissolves, you say it is dissolving in water or it is soluble in water. Now, how that happens, how the solubility happens, you have studied last year. How? Because first what happens, this haloalkane molecules will break, isn't it? The bond of the haloalkanes molecule, intermolecular force of attraction is there, right? So that molecules, intermolecular force of attraction, that bond should be broken. At the same time, the water molecules, they have intermolecular force of attraction, hydrogen bonding is there. Water molecules, strong force of attraction. But in the case of haloalkanes, only weak van der Waals and dipole. Even though we say it's strong when compared to hydrocarbon. Not that it is very strong. When we say very strong, we say strong when compared to the same hydrocarbon, isn't it? No, it is not like water. Water is having a strong hydrogen bond. So, if something is soluble or something should be soluble in water means, first this bond should be broken. That is, the haloalkane intermolecular force should be broken or the bond should be broken, isn't it? Then what happens? The hydrogen bond in the water should be broken. So, in these two cases, a high amount of energy should be required to break that bond, isn't it? Then what happens? Then this haloalkanes and the water molecule will get bonded. That is how solubility happens. If it is very well bonded, we say that it is highly soluble. If it is not bonded, that is if it is only weakening, only weak bonds are forming, then we will say it is slightly soluble. And if at all there is no bond is happening between them, we say it is insoluble. So that is the chemistry behind the solubility. Okay. Now if understood. Okay. Now if we say this is less soluble in water means what? Which means that energy is required to separate haloalkane bond as well as the hydrogen bond. Isn't it? Strong hydrogen bond. But when you combine these haloalkanes and water, the energy released, there must be a release of energy, right? When something is getting joining, energy is released. So that energy is released is less. Less energy is released when compared to this separate haloalkanes as well as the hydrogen bond in water. So that is the reason why it is less soluble in water. So when haloalkanes and water combine to make bond, it is a very weak bond between these haloalkanes and the water, and only a less amount of energy is released. Okay, so it is not comparable energy. If the energy is comparable, that is how much energy is required to break, and that much energy is for that binding of this water molecule, then it will be very well soluble. You got it? What I am saying. The point is, see, if for example, say, if I have a haloalkane and water, for the separate haloalkane and water, I have 90 kilojoules of mole is required to break that bond. And if I want to connect that water and haloalkanes, the same energy is giving out as exothermic, as giving out, then no problem. It is same. It is a comparable energy of this, both this intermolecular force of attraction. So then we can say something is soluble in water. So that is the funda behind it. So why this is less soluble? The energy required by the water molecule and the haloalkanes to get bonded is less than when compared to the separate breaking up of that hydrogen bonding as well as the haloalkane bonding. The same reason applies why this is highly soluble in organic solvents. In organic solvents, when this organic solvents like haloalkanes will break the bond and benzene, say benzene will break the bond, or chloroform will break the bond, that much energy when both will combine, the haloalkane and the benzene will combine, that same amount, or same means somewhat same, approx, same amount will be released. So the energy is comparable, isn't it? So if it is 90, around 89 or 92, like that, approximately the energy is released. So same energy is that. Therefore, it is soluble in organic solvents. So that is the funda behind the solubility of in water as well as in organic solvents. So is it clear? So we can say that solubility of haloalkanes and haloarenes, they are less soluble in water, but they are very well soluble in what? Organic solvents, isn't it? Organic solvent. So less soluble means what? This is more soluble in organic solvent. Less soluble means the energy released, that is the value point. The energy released is less when compared to the separate energy released from the what? Haloalkanes as well as the hydrogen bonding. That is, intermolecular bonding is weak. So here the intermolecular force of attraction is weak. So in organic solvents, the energy released is comparable with the other one. So here there will be a strong intermolecular force of attraction. So that is about the solubility. Okay. So these 3 points you have to mention in the physical property. So we are going very, very slow, isn't it? In order to make you understand or make you clear the fundas, we are just going very, very slow. Okay. So once again I will repeat. That's why again after a whole portion I am again repeating once again so that to make you more clear. So you consider in the physical property, first is the melting and boiling point. Okay, 4 or 5 points are there. First point, once again I am repeating. One is polarity. It is the bond is polar. Second is strong intermolecular force attraction when compared to. Not that there is strong intermolecular force of attraction. When will be that? When we compare it with the same molecular mass of hydrocarbon, CH4 and CH3Br. When you compare this, there is Br being polar, there is dipole-dipole attraction as well as a water bond. So there, when compared to the hydrocarbon, the haloalkanes will have strong intermolecular force of attraction. That is the meaning of that. Okay. Then we say as the size increases, the attraction also increases, isn't it? Now the melting and boiling point decreases in the order of iodine, bromine, chlorine and fluorine. Why? Because as the size increases, the mass also increases, therefore increases. And last point is the isomeric halides or the branching happens. The branching halides will have low melting and boiling point compared to the normal haloalkanes. Okay. So when even the branching is more and more, the boiling and melting point is less and less. Okay. So that is about the melting and boiling point. Now what we studied about the density. You know, as the size of the atom increases, the mass also increases. If the number of carbon atom also increases, the molecular mass increases, therefore the density increases. Correct? Simple. Then the last one is the solubility. Here it's important to note down, that is the solubility of haloalkanes and arene is less in water, that is less soluble in water because the force of attraction which connects the haloalkanes and water is less when compared to the separate bonding in them, that is hydrogen bonding and the bonding between the haloalkanes. But it is more soluble in organic solvent. Why? Because the energy released is comparable to that with the breakage of that bond. So making and breaking of the bond is comparable. The energy for making and breaking is same in the organics this thing, but in the water it is not so same. That is why it is less soluble in water. Okay. So hope you are clear with this physical property. Okay. Now we will pass on to the chemical property. It's very important. All are important since I am telling you that again and again, because you have to have a very good knowledge of this organic chemistry. Then only you can study it. You have to love the organic chemistry. Okay. Okay. Now we are passing on to the chemical property. Okay. Chemical property. Chemical property also three reactions. Sorry. Chemical property. Only 3 reactions you have to study, okay, in the chemical property. That's also simple, but the reaction mechanism is there. You are starting the mechanism. So, chemical properties. Okay. Now, in chemical property, as far as chemical properties are considered, there are 3 reactions you have to study. Okay. One is You are going in a new thing. Okay. That is, one is, first reaction is nucleophilic substitution. That you heard about electrophilic substitution, isn't it? That is in the preparation of what? Preparation of haloarenes, iron in dark. Whenever you heard the electrophilic substitution, just make in your mind that, okay, haloarenes preparation, iron in dark or Lewis acid. That's it. Okay. So first is nucleophilic substitution. Second is elimination reaction. Okay, elimination reaction. And the third is reaction with metals. Okay, so there are three reactions you have to study. The chemical, when you consider the chemical property, the three are important. Three are important. That is, application questions can come. So first is nucleophilic substitution. Second is elimination reaction. And third is reaction with metals. So today we will see the introduction of, not you are going to mechanism, but introduction of what is nucleophilic substitution. Okay, so three reactions: nucleophilic substitution, elimination, and reaction with metals. Okay, now we will see one by one. That is, so listen very carefully. Mechanism is also there. So just you have to know what is nucleophilic substitution. Then we will go into the mechanism. Okay, so nucleophilic substitution. Okay, nucleophilic substitution. Okay. From the name itself, you know, a nucleophile is getting substituted into a carbon atom. Isn't it? So that is called as a nucleophilic substitution. So what do you mean by a nucleophile? You have all this you have studied. That is, nucleophile means something having electron rich elements or electron rich compounds are called as nucleophile, whereas electron deficient compounds are called as electrophiles, isn't it? So that is electrophile and nucleophile. And we will put nucleophile as that, like this. Nucleophile, the shorthand of nucleophile you put as Nu, and we will show an electron pair. That means they are electron rich molecule. Okay, that is a nucleophile. Okay. Now nucleophilic substitution. What is substitution? You have to replace one and substitute another. That's the meaning of what substitution, isn't it? So the reaction, the general reaction goes like this. For example, if you have for example a haloalkane, that is bromomethane. If you have a bromomethane, if a nucleophile comes, for example, Nu minus, say OH minus, isn't it? So OH minus is a nucleophile. Now when OH minus combines with the CH3Br, what happens? It will form, the product will be CH3OH. See? Simple. So this is called as nucleophilic substitution. Isn't it? So when a nucleophile attacks a carbon atom, remember this carbon atom is an sp3 hybridized state, isn't it? sp3. So when this react with a nucleophile, it will form what? A nucleophile will get substituted and the halogen atom will remove as an halide ion, isn't it? Will remove as an halide ion or Br minus ion. And since a nucleophile is initiating this reaction, keep in mind, a nucleophile, anything which has a lone pair of electron, we call it as a nucleophile. OH minus, Cn minus, then NH2. NH2 why? NH2 means it contains a lone pair of electron. Okay, NH2, then RNH. Again, N has got a lone pair of electrons. So all these we considered as a nucleophile. So when a nucleophile initiates this reaction, you call that reaction to be a nucleophilic substitution, since substitution takes place. Okay, so this is a nucleophilic substitution reaction as a general. Okay. Now we will see the mechanism behind this, how this forms. You have to study. Now before going into that, you have a table in your textbook. Okay, now the table is 10.4. Just go through the table. What you have to do is, there one general reaction they have been given, like Rx. Rx means R can be anything. So what I want is you have to put R anything you like. For example, CS3 or C2H5 or a benzene and phenyl, anything. And then there are so many nucleophiles in that table. Like OH minus, H2O, isn't it? H2O, then CN, etc. So you put all that nucleophiles in that table and get the product. Okay, and get the product. So here the product will be what? Here the product will be R nucleophile plus X minus. This is a generic equation. You have to put this all the nucleophiles. For example, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 nucleophiles are there in your textbook. So please do that today itself, and any R you can put and any X you can put. It's your wish. But complete the table in today itself. Okay, so that you will have how the nucleophiles, or what are the different types of nucleophiles. Okay, so before there is one table like a reagent. Reagent means nothing but if OH minus is there, the reagent you have to put is water or KOH. That is why they have put the reagent there as water. If water is there, H plus and OH minus. So the OH minus is a nucleophile, so OH minus will come. KOH means K plus and OH minus. So OH minus is a nucleophile. There also OH minus gets attached. So the various reagents, from these various reagents you will get the corresponding nucleophile. That is the reagent column. Okay. So if you don't write that also, that's okay. You write the nucleophile and connect with this compound. Okay, so you can do that. Now, one more thing before going into mechanism. Some nucleophile. Okay, now you know what is nucleophile. That is, this R is attached to the nucleophile and the X is removed as a halide ion. That is the funda. Now, in some cases, if the nucleophile, for example, CN, okay, CN, or there is another example like NO2. Some nucleophiles will have different atoms can be attached, which means in this CN, the R can be either attached to C or it can be attached to N. There are 2 points for this attachment. So, such nucleophile, for example, in this case NO2, the R can be attached to N, that is N, or it can be attached to O. 2 cases are there for NO2. That means the R, this nucleophile is NO2 minus, isn't it? NO2 minus is a nucleophile. Now the NO2 minus, 2 ways it can happen. One, the R can be attached to N, or the R can be attached to same molecule but O. That is why 2 different joining centers are there. Or you call it as 2 nucleophilic centers. You call it as what? Nucleophilic centers will be there. 2 nucleophilic centers will be there for some nucleophiles. So CN. So the R can be attached to C, or the same it can attach to N also. See, same but different points, nucleophilic centers. So such nucleophiles are called as what? Such nucleophiles are called as amphident nucleophile. Okay, amphident nucleophile, or ampident. Okay, it is called as ambident nucleophile. Ambident nucleophile, very important. Coordination also you will have this. Ambident nucleophile. So what is ambident nucleophile? More than 1 nucleophilic centers for joining. That is called as ambident nucleophile. For example, CN and NC. Isn't it? CN and NC, how it happens? C triple bond N, this is minus. So the R is, you know, this is minus and this is plus. So the plus R will come and attach here. Isn't it? Okay. So C. So it will become RCN. So this is called as cyanoalkane. If C is attached to the R, it is called as cyanoalkanes. Isn't it? Now, if it is N, see, N is minus and C. The R is attached to the N. So, then you will get what? RNC. Here it is RCN. Here it is RNC. If it is CN, it is called as cyanohalide. Isn't it? Cyanohalide. If it is NC, it is called as isocyanide. See? It is called as isocyanide. So, this is called as amphident nucleophile. Okay. In the same way, NO2 also. In NO2, you can say O, N, double bond O. See? If the R is attached to O, if it is R is attached to O, then it is called as alkyl nitrite. Alkyl nitrite. When it is attached to N, it is called as nitroalkane. You got it? I will tell you once more. That is, amphident ligand means, amphident nucleophile means there are more than one nucleophilic centers in the same molecule. Example, you have seen Cn. Now NO2 minus is, see, it can have a structure like NO double bond O. See, it is having a minus charge. In this case, if R is attached, so it will become like this. See, that is RONO. The R is directly attached to O. Then the name will be, what is it? Alkyl nitrite. See? Alkyl nitrite. Now, when it is attached to this N, this lone pair is there, no? So it can attach N double bond O minus. See? When it is attached to N, it is called as nitroalkane. See the difference in naming? Difference in naming? RONO. It is called as alkyl nitrite. When it is attached to directly to N, because it can have the nucleophile center like this. See, it can have N and it can have O, both. So if it is in N, it is called as nitroalkane. Got it? So these are the examples. Now when it is CN, it is called as cyanoalkanes. NC, isocyanide. So cyanide as well as isocyanide. So that is all about the amphident nucleophiles. Now, so hope you understood. What are amphident nucleophiles? There are more than one nucleophilic center. That is, the alkyl group can have attachment for more than one center. That is called as amphident nucleophile. Example is CN and NC, NO2 and ONO. Naming you know. Now, one board exam question is there. Okay, that is in your text, in-text question. That is again an in-text question, but several times it is asked. That is, if haloalkanes, listen carefully, when haloalkanes react with KCN, listen, haloalkanes react with KCN. For example, CH3Br plus KCN will give you CH3Cn plus KBr. Correct? So, when KCN is the reagent, then you will get the product as the CH3 is attached to the C. So, you will get a cyanide. That is methyl cyanide or cyanomethane. Both are okay. Okay. Methyl cyanide or cyanomethane. Okay. But at the same time, you can also use AgCN. See, AgCN also the nucleophile is what? Cn minus. KCN also nucleophile is what? Cn minus. But if the same thing, for example, CH3Br plus AgCN is added as a reagent, then you will get CH3NC plus KBr, sorry, AgBr. Instead of Cn, see, instead of Cn, you got NC. Why? That is the question. So, when haloalkanes react with the KCN, predominantly cyanides are formed, whereas the same reaction, if AgCN is used, you will get isocyanide. Now, what is the logic behind it? So, what is the reason behind it? The value or the reason is, you know, KCN means what? It is an ionic compound. See, KCN means it forms K plus and Cn minus, isn't it? See, once more again I will tell you. First you take KCN, correct? KCN. Now, if I take KCN, it is an ionic compound. So, the value point is KCN is ionic in nature. First value point. KCN is ionic in nature. Okay. Then what happens? It splits or completely dissociate into K plus and Cn minus, isn't it? Now the question is, for example, CH3Br, same example, plus K and Cn minus, K plus and Cn minus is in the solution. Now the point is, this C will get attached to C and not N. Why? Because This is an amphident ligand, sorry, not ligand, I'm going to coordination. Amphident nucleophile, isn't it? So it can have the two possibility. Either it can join to the carbon or it can join to the nitrogen. But practically speaking, this will go and join to the CN and form CH3Cl. That is, cyanide is formed. Now why? Why it does not go and fit into the nitrogen? The second value point. Second value point is, while attaching the C to C, that is the carbon-carbon bond, is more stable than, that is the value point, second value point, more stable than the carbon-nitrogen bond. That is why this gets out, the product formed is CH3CN. Got it? Understood? Now, the second part is remaining. What is it? Why, if it is AgCN instead of KCN, why CH3NC isocyanide is formed? Now, we will see. Now, here the two value points are, one is KCN is predominantly ionic and second is carbon-carbon bond is more stronger or stable than carbon-nitrogen bond. That is the two value point. Now, the second again, if you take AgCN, the first value point is, if KCN is predominantly ionic, this is predominantly covalent in nature. This is predominantly covalent in nature. The first value point is, AgCN has got a covalent character. That is why how you write the value points. Okay. Now, second point is, you know, if CH3Br plus AgCN. Okay. Now the problem is, the CH3 will go and connect nitrogen rather than what? Rather than carbon. Then only you will get what? CH3NC. Isn't it? That is isocyanide. NC is isocyanide and CN is cyanide. Now why? Why it doesn't go and approach carbon rather than nitrogen? So again the point is, you know covalent. Covalent bond is sharing of electron. So here, when you compare carbon and nitrogen, nitrogen has got a lone pair of electron, isn't it? And it is ready for sharing. So that is why this go and attack immediately whom? The nitrogen atom. So the second value point is, the nitrogen having lone pair of electron, isn't it? Lone pair of electron is ready for sharing, the value point. That is again same value point, covalent, just elaborating on it. That is, it is ready for sharing. So that is why it is attacking on the nitrogen rather than carbon. Okay, so that is the reason why this is a board question. It has asked through 3 or 4 times. Okay, so just study that. Just get the value point, that's all. Just the value point, then you can elaborate on your own. So why KCN is ionic? Then ionic means the carbon has the carbon-carbon bond is more stable than the carbon-nitrogen. That is why it is forming cyanide. Whereas in AgCN, it is predominantly covalent. And the nitrogen atom has got a lone pair of electron, is ready for sharing. Thereby, it is forming NC. So that's all about what? That's all about the chemical property or the reaction, that is nucleophilic substitution. Okay, that is substitution of a nucleophile into a haloalkane leaving behind the halide ion, and the nucleophile is being substituted. And since a nucleophile is initiating the reaction, it is called as a nucleophilic substitution. Okay, so in the next class we will study about the mechanism, how this OH minus, so the nucleophile is getting attacked on an sp3 hybridized carbon atom. There are 2 types of mechanism. One is SN1 and SN2. That is substitution nucleophilic bimolecular and substitution nucleophilic unimolecular. So that we will see in the next class. So till then, go through it, and as I told you, you have to write whatever is in that chart or the table. Find that compound by adding the nucleophile. What is amphident nucleophile, isn't it? And go through it, and till then, thank you.